Joshua chapter 16. Ephraim and Manasseh are the two tribes descended from Joseph, and the following is the description of the land they received. The southern border of their land started at the Jordan River east of the spring at Jericho. From there, it went west through the desert up to the hill country around Bethel. From Bethel, it went to Luz, and then to the border of the from Bethel, it went to Luz, border of Archites in Ataroth. It continued west down to the land that belonged to the Japhlet clan, then went on to lower Beth Horon, Gezer, and the Mediterranean Sea. The following is a description of the land that was divided among the clans of the Ephraim tribe. The southern border started at the Ataroth Adar and went west to Upper Beth Horon and the Mediterranean Sea. The northern border started on the east of Jahana, Beth Horon, and the Mediterranean Sea. The northern border started on the east at Genoa, curved a little to the north, then came back to south of Mikmatath and Tapua, where it followed the Canaan, Mikmatath and Tapua, where it followed Canaan George west to the Mediterranean Sea. The eastern border started on the north near Joanoa and went between Genoa on the southwest and Tenath Shalom on the northeast. Then it went south to Shalom on the northeast. Then it went south to Ataroth, Nera, and on as far as the edge of the land that belonged to Jericho. At that point, it turned east and went to the Jordan River. The clans of Ephraim received this region as their tribal land. Ephraim also had some towns and villages that were inside Manasseh's tribal land. Ephraim could not force the Canaanites out of Gezer, so there are still some Canaanites who live among the Israelites, but now these Canaanites have to work as slaves for the Israelites. Joshua chapter 17. Manasseh was Joseph's oldest son, and Machir was Manasseh's oldest son. Machir had a son named Gilead, and some of his descendants had already received the region of Gilead and Bashan, because they were good warriors. The other clans of Manasseh tribe, descendants from Gilead's sons, Abiezer, Helek, Azriel, Shechem, Epher, and Shemida. The following is a description of the land they received. Hefer's son, Zelophehad, did not have any sons, but he did have 5 daughters: Mala, Mela, Noah, Hogla, Mela, Noah, Hogla, Milcah, and Tirzah. One day the clans that were descendants of Zephad's 5 daughters went to the priest of Eleazar, Joshua, and the leader of Israel. The people of these clans said, "The Lord told Moses to give us land just as he gave land to our relatives." Joshua followed the Lord's instructions and gave land to these 5 clans as he had given land to the 5 clans that had Joshua followed the Lord's instructions and gave land to these 5 clans as he had given land to the 5 clans that had descendants from Hefer's brothers. So Manasseh's land went to the Jordan River was divided into 10 parts. The land of the Manasseh tribe went from its northern border with the Asher's tribe south to, which is to the east of Shechem. The southern border started there but curved even farther south to include the people who lived around Tapua Spring. The town of Tapua was on Manasseh's border with Ephraim. Although the land around Tapua belonged to Manasseh, the town itself belonged to Ephraim. Then the border went west to the Canaan, George, and ran along the northern edge of the George to the Mediterranean Sea. The land south of the George belonged to Ephraim, and even though there were a few towns that belonged to Ephraim north of the Gorge, the land north of the Gorge belonged. Then the border went west to Canaan Gorge and ran along the northern edge of the Gorge to the Mediterranean Sea. The land south of the Gorge belonged to Ephraim, and even though there were a few towns that belonged to Ephraim north of the Gorge, and land north of the gorge belonged to Manasseh. The western border of Manasseh was the Mediterranean Sea, and the tribe shared a border with the Asher tribe on the northwest and with the Issachar tribe on the northeast. Manasseh was supposed to have the following towns with their surrounding villages inside the border of Issachar's and Asher's tribal land: Bethshah, tribal lands, Bethshean, Ibleam, Endor, Taanan, Megiddo, and Dor, which is also called Nepheth. But the people of Manasseh could not capture these towns, so the Canaanites kept on living in them. When the Israelites grew stronger, they made the Canaanites in these towns work as their slaves, though they never did force them to leave. One day the Joseph tribes came to Joshua and asked, "Why didn't you give us more land? The Lord has always been kind to us, and we have too many people for this small region." Joshua replied, "If you have so many people that you don't have enough room in the hill country of Ephraim, then go into the forests that belong to the Perizzites and the Rephaim. Clear out the trees and make more room for yourself there." Even if we do not do that, they answered, "there still won't be enough land for us in the hill country, and we can't move down into Jezreel Valley, because the Canaanites who live in Bethshan and in other parts of the valley have iron chariots. Your tribes do have a lot of people." Joshua admitted, "I'll give you more land. Your tribes are powerful, so you can have the rest of the hill country. But it's a forest, and you will have to cut down the trees and clear the land. You can also have Jezreel Valley, even though the Canaanites there are strong and have iron chariots, you can force them to leave the valley." Joshua chapter 18. After Israel had captured the land, they met at Shiloh and set up their sacred tent. There were still 7 tribes without any land. So Joshua told the people, "The Judah tribe has already settled in its land in the south, and the Joseph tribes have settled in their land in the north. The tribes of Gad, Reuben, and East Manasseh already have the land that the Lord's servant Moses gave them, east of the Jordan River, and the people of Levi won't get a single large region of the land like the other tribes. Instead, they will serve the Lord as priests, but the rest of you haven't done a thing to take over any land. The Lord God, who was worshipped by your ancestors, has given you the land, and now it's time to go ahead and settle there. 7 tribes settled don't have any land. Each of these tribes should choose 3 men, and I'll send them to explore the remaining land. They will divide it into 7 regions. Write a description of each region and bring these descriptions back to me. I will find out from the Lord our God what region each tribe should get." Just before the men left camp, Joshua repeated their orders: "Explore the land and write a description of it. Then come back to Shiloh, and I will find out from the Lord how to divide the land." The men left and went across the land and dividing it into 7 regions. They wrote down a description of each region, town by town, and returned to Joshua at the camp of Shiloh. Joshua found out from the Lord how to divide the land, and he told the tribes what the Lord had decided. Benjamin was the first tribe chosen to receive land. The region for its claims lay between the Judah tribe on the south and the Joseph tribes on the north. Benjamin's northern border started at the Jordan River and went up to ridge north of Jericho, then on west into the hill country as far as the Beth Aven desert. From there it went to Luz, which is now called Bethel. The border ran Beth Aven desert. From there it went to Luz, which is now called Bethel. The border ran along the ridge south of Luz, then went to Ataroth Bethel. The border ran along the ridge of South Luz, then went to Ataroth Orek, and on as far as the mountain south of Lower Beth Horon. At that point, it turned south and became the western border. It went as far south as Kiryat Baal, a town in Jorah now called Kiryat Jearim. Benjamin's southern border started at the edge of Kiryat Jearim and went east to ruins and on the Nephtor spring. From there it went to the bottom of the hill at the northern end of Rephaim Valley. The other side of this hill faces Hinnom Valley, which is on the land that slopes south from Jerusalem. The border went down through Hinnom Valley until it reached En-Rogel. At En-Rogel, the border curved north and went to En-Shemesh and on east to Gilhoth, which is across the valley from Adumim Pass. Then it went down to the monument of Bohan, who belonged to the Reuben tribe. The border ran along the hillside north of Beth Arab, then down into the Jordan River Valley. Inside the valley, it went south as far as the northern hillside of Beth Hogla. The last section of the border went from there to the northern end of the Dead Sea, at the mount of the Jordan River. The Jordan River itself was Benjamin's eastern border. These were the border of Benjamin's tribal land, where the clans of Benjamin lived. One region of Benjamin tribal land had 12 towns, with one region of Benjamin's tribal land had 12 towns with their surrounding villages. Those towns were Jericho, Beth Hogla, Emekhesis, Beth Araba, Zemarium, Bethel, Avim, Pera, Ephraim, Kephar, Ammoni, Ophain, and Geba. In the other region, there were the following 14 towns with their surrounding villages: Gibeon, Ramah, Beeroth, Mizpah, Kephira, Moza, Rechem, Irpeel, Tarala, Zela, Haeleph, Gibeath, Kiryat Jearim, and Jerusalem, which is also called Jebusite town. These regions are tribal lands of Benjamin.